Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Donna. Welcome to our special meeting of the Cromwell Board of Education. We are calling the meeting to order at 5:36. And Steve, we got to tell Lori she can mute us. Oh, wait, she's got to say her roll call first.
Yeah.
All right, I'm passing it over to Lisa for roll call, and if we could call Lori first, then she can hit mute.
Here.
Ms. Franklin? Here. Mrs. Gaduti? Here. Mr. Heisman? Here. Mrs. Lamb? Here. Ms. Maddie? Here. Mrs. Russ? Here. Mr. Schuman? Here. And Mr. Zabowski's absent. Mr. Lucas? Here. Ms. Berry? Ms. Arnesta? Mr. Bazzano? Mrs. Bennington? Mr. Colacino? Mrs. Demaro? Mrs. DeTuno? Mr. Cuckle? Mr. LeMay? Dr. McLean? Here. Mrs. Prestash? Ms. Middlebrooks? Ms. O'Leary? Here. Mrs. Shepherd? Ms. Talmont? And Mrs. Weisfeld? Here.
Thank you, Lisa. Our agenda is short and simple, but I do need a motion to approve the agenda as shared. Thank you, Mrs. Maddie. Thank you, Mr. Schuman, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? Okay, thank you.
Aye.
Thank you, Lori. We have one item of new business to well, it's actually old business to discuss on the agenda, which is about ECS staffing positions. Just for reference and reminder, this had come up as part of our budget discussions and was a recommendation of our former superintendent, of Dr. Macri, that we remove a teacher position in ECS that was permanent sub based on expected and anticipated census numbers. That passed through our budget process by our board, moved to Board of Finance as part of our comprehensive budget package, went through referendum. There was a request that it be revisited. I was not at our last meeting, but I understand that we are revisiting tonight. I want to just start off by, raising a concern on procedure, that it's never good for us to go back and revisit things that we've already discussed and decided. But we committed to doing that, so we're having that conversation tonight. I think I will start with Mr. Lucas and just providing his expert perspective on where we are with staffing. And also always say, all of us are committed to making sure that our students and staff have the support and the services that they need. And so that was part of our conversation around the budget as well. Mr. Lucas.
Thank you. Yeah, it is still my recommendation with the class sizes we have. While I understand the concerns of our staff and respect their opinions at ECS, and they eloquently spoke to that at the last board meeting, if we do move, as we discussed before, a second grade teacher to kindergarten, you folks have the pink and blue sheet in front of you. That would put us at 15.3 students per class in kindergarten, 17 in first grade, and 18.6 in second grade. While some may say that's not ideal, I think they're very manageable, especially with our outstanding staff that we have. I have met with Lucille and Karen and Sari as well to look at ways in which we can support our teachers, however. If we don't add this position, you have that list memo from Sari to myself. That is also in your packet for the board. We recognize that the teachers, the message from them is that they don't feel completely supported or been listened to in the past, and we know we need to work on it and heal that relationship. I'm going to do everything in my power to do that, and our team will as well, and we want to do that. But my recommendation is not to add another position back right now. I think it's a bad precedent with other staff that we have in other buildings, with other town departments, and town hall as well. So I would like to see us go forward and work with our team and find out how we can support our students at ECS in other ways this fall. So, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. I'll just highlight some of the notes that were included in our materials around additional support, particularly for our youngest kids at ECS. And just remind everybody that we did add an RBT position as part of the budget process. We're not going to hand out. Okay. I know. We added an RBT position, and at our last meeting that we talked about with ESS, we agreed to add an ESS clinician to Edna Stevens School, which is specifically focused around providing additional behavioral health supports, as well as the registered behavior tech. So some of the concerns I know that were raised were specifically around behavioral needs, and I feel strongly that we made a significant investment to support and enhance behavioral services for our youngest kids with those actions. With that, I guess I'll open this up to discussion before we go into a formal motion. Kelly?
I just want to make a note and can understand procedure moving forward, but we did have a conversation in May where we said we were going to revisit it. So I don't think we broke procedure. I think we revisited a conversation that we said we were going to. The May note said it was going to be in July or August. At the time, the old superintendent said that would still give us plenty of time to make the decision. And last week, I personally did not feel there was enough information to make the decision, as that was echoed by several members of the board. So if that wants to be our procedure moving forward, I just want to know I don't think that we went out of the bounds of procedure as I understood it. I also wanted to just make a couple notes on enrollment. Understanding from 2019 to 2027, the numbers are going down, but from 25 to 26 to 26, 27, the numbers actually go up. And overall, school K through 2 in 25, 26 was 331. In 26, 27, it's projected to be 338. This is just for perspective so we can analyze numbers the same way because it seems to be a numbers game. In 2024, 2025, there were 357 students and 22 teachers in ECS. That's a ratio of 1 to 16.22. In 25-26, there were 331 students with 21 teachers. That's a ratio of 1 to 15.76. 26-27, there is an estimated 338 students with 20 teachers as it stands now. That's an estimated 1 to 16.9. So that is an increase from 24-25 and 25-26. Even if we add the additional teacher to 21, that then becomes 16.02, which is still more than what the ratio was. And I know it's different based on class sizes and things like that, but I think we need to evaluate it as a whole. We also have not done a study since 2021. We have housing units coming into this town, different apartment buildings coming into this town. I don't think that we can confidently look at this and say numbers are going to keep going down. So I just wanted to have that noted. We did end the year with a surplus. We've ended 2 years with a surplus. We have the money to be able to do this in a fiscally responsible way. I will say that again. But most importantly, these teachers keep showing up. They keep telling us this is important. These are our children. You guys might not have children in these schools, and I appreciate everything you're doing in terms of correcting the behavior, but it is not an overnight fix. I am open to a 1-year position. I am open to reinstating this as a full-time position. My opinion is that we need another teacher present in the building. My personal, I am not a teacher. I am not an educator. These people have shown up time and time and time again, and they are begging and telling us they need it. I don't think this is about setting an incorrect precedent. I think this is correcting a mistake that this board made, quite frankly. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mrs. Lamb? Oh, I'm sorry. We can't. I'm sorry. Mrs. Lamb?
It's okay. So I appreciate everything that's been said so far, and I recognize how important it is to have the right ratio of students to teachers in the classroom. I am not an expert to tell you, is it 15, is it 16, is it whatever it is. I am not that expert. I do have to lean on the folks that are here in the room to tell me what works and what doesn't work. However, I am a person of process. I do recognize that it's important to hear voices and to have your voices heard and to speak up and be part of the process. Whether or not you were part of the process this year, I can't say. I didn't hear specifically whether or not. But what was put forward to the board did not include this position, unfortunately. So at this time, unless I imagine there's other things that would have to happen in the district, I can't tell you today whether or not other students in the other schools are going to be affected. You know, are the teaching ratios going to have to be adjusted there? I don't know. We don't have that data. I can only go with what's in front of me. What I do know, on maybe a positive note, for what it's worth, I have had students in my family that have looped with a teacher. I have had students go through the multi-age classroom at WIS. It was a phenomenal experience for them and for our family. It was amazing because we have amazing teachers, and it was wonderful for the students because they had continuity with a teacher that they knew and loved. They had the opportunity to go to another teacher if they wanted to, but they didn't because they loved the teacher they were with. So that has been an experience that we've seen in our family that has worked very well for our students. Given the challenges that I know the teachers have shared in the classroom, I'm, again, not an expert here, but given the amount of resources that we're trying to provide, that may be a helpful solution. It may be that, yes, we do need another teacher in the classroom. I think from a process perspective, we have to put that forward this year with the upcoming budget. So at this point, that's my 2 cents. But overall, I think it's critically important to make sure that you continue to speak up, you continue to be heard. This was, I agree with Kelly. We said we were going to come back here this month, July, August, and revisit it, and we are doing that. I think at this point in time, I have to lean on Mr. Lucas's recommendation that we stay the course with what's been proposed.
Mrs. Maddie?
I don't want to discuss, I think Kelly eloquently stated what all of us feel about teachers and students, but I have to just sort of go off the beaten path for just a second, because I think this has something to do with what I've been thinking about nonstop about how I would vote on this. And so I'm back at, you don't need to look at it, but I'm at reference, I believe it's reference F, and it's vacancies for 26-27. And I'm going to start here by saying I spoke, the superintendent and I had a very nice conversation, and this was something we even talked about, and he smiles a lot, so it was nice for him to smile and say, well, we may not always agree. And that was wonderful. But he was smiling, I was smiling, and I'm thinking to myself, so now I'm going to have to rethink this because, I'm new to all this as well. However, it was something that I asked him because teachers had mentioned it to me that is still a conundrum. And I'm going back to when the teachers had found out after the fact that this position was going to be not really lost, because I think, Kelly, you said to me, we have never, the board, and it's not me because I wasn't there then, but in the time that you've been on the board and probably most of these people, there had never been a teacher that had been let go. I think you had said that at that April meeting, and I said, wow, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. However, I was happy to hear when a couple of the teachers told me that the teacher who was teaching the class and then was going to leave because the position was lost through attrition, I said to the superintendent, there's a 3rd grade opening, and I've been bothered by this huge vacancy, this huge number of vacancies on reference F from August 11th, and I'm curious because teachers came up to me and said she was a wonderful teacher, and see now already my fleeting mind is going from, okay, we may lose the grade, we may lose the position, but more importantly to me is this was a phenomenal teacher. Why is it she didn't take the 3rd grade position? So I'm thinking to myself, these people had said to me She was a wonderful teacher. She's a wonderful teacher. We're sorry to see her go. So I'm thinking, why didn't she take that third grade position? And I think I mentioned that to you. And because if in fact we're such a wonderful place and we have all good things that we're trying to do for both our teachers and our students, why would she have left and not taken advantage of that position? And then I'm saying to myself, as I'm looking through this, what is this about all these and I hope this is not off track because I have to have these questions answered. What is this about long-term subs 4th grade WIS, long-term sub 4th and 5th grade multi-age WIS, long-term sub 5th grade WIS, long-term sub math teacher CHS, long-term, what is, that's the social worker, I can't, I'm only at this point looking at the teachers. What does this all mean 7 days before we're going to start school that we don't have position? Am I going to have to come in, and I will do it? Am I going to have to come in? I'll go to the high school. The little kids hang on you. I can't take that.
Mrs. Maddie, I'm going to have, before
No,
you
I
jump.
have to know about
I know,
this.
I'm going to ask
Okay.
Michelle tomorrow if she could answer your
Wonderful.
question. Would that?
I knew Michelle would know.
Yes.
I knew she would know. And frankly, you're not going to believe this. People have asked me about this.
I imagine, but Michelle
Thank
always
you.
has the answers
I know
for us.
she does. I know she does. Thank you, Michelle.
So those long-term sub positions are all for maternity and medical reasons. So someone going out for a short duration, and that's all it is. And so when those situations happen, whether it's FMLA, we have federal and state that we run both. We look for a long-term sub, so it's temporary. That assignment could be anywhere from several months to half a year to a full year. So it depends, right? We never know year to year how many long-term subs we're going to need. So this year happens to be a big one. So
Yeah, it is a big one.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, if you don't mind my asking, in a situation where at WIS, this is all 4 and 4 and 5, so there's 1, 2 in each grade. I don't know how many teachers there are in 4th and 5th. But could this possibly mean that at the beginning of school, we now do not have even a long-term sub for, let's say there's a lady on maternity leave. She's going to give birth in September. She's going to stay at home.
Donna, can I just stop you for 1 second? Lori's on the phone. She wants to speak to this particular issue, and she has to leave.
Okay.
But I think that Michelle would be happy to talk through some of the staffing. Some of it we can't share because some of it is personnel information about why there's openings or why there's a long-term vacancy. But Lori wants to make a comment specifically to the issue at hand tonight, and she has only 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Would you be willing to let her?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
definitely. But I can say quickly, we're working as fast as we can
I
to
can
fill the
imagine.
position. So we are hoping everything will be filled before August 24th.
Okay, I'm available in case you.
Thank you, Donna. Your mic, Donna. Lori, I don't know if you can hear me, but
Yeah,
feel
I
free.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Feel free to jump in.
Okay. Yeah, so sorry I'm not there. I wasn't anticipating that we were going to be having this meeting. So I haven't read anything. I don't know if any emails came out. I haven't had the chance, but I just want to comment. I mean, I know the way we left it a couple months ago when this issue came up was that we would revisit it at the end of summer to make sure that the enrollment numbers hadn't increased significantly, that the class sizes weren't changing significantly. My understanding is, and again, I don't have the materials in front of me that you guys do, but if they haven't changed significantly and they're at the same as they were when we voted originally, my understanding was that we weren't going to change anything. Just to reiterate, Dr. Macri felt very strongly that our class size was appropriate. I feel like she was a huge advocate for students and teachers, and if she felt that we needed the extra position, she would have championed for that. now we have a new superintendent, and I'm also relying on his expertise. So, I heard what he said in the beginning. He is also saying he's also supporting what Dr. Macri said. And I'm just thinking back to I don't want to talk too much about it, but our interview process and the reaction from almost all the candidates when they learned our class size. And we talked about this issue because we asked if they saw the meeting the night before when we had this conversation. They were all like shocked at how low our class sizes were and how great they were commenting on how great that was. So that stuck with me when we interviewed all the candidates. That really stuck with me that was they all reacted that way. So I don't want to go on too long because I have heard what you're all saying and I understand what everyone's saying. Of course, we want to support our students and our teachers and make sure everybody has the services they need. But I also feel if this is a behavior issue, then our pupil services director, I don't know if she's there, she should be getting paraprofessional staff in the classroom. I know, we have the RBTs now that we brought in. We have ESS adding additional services. So if it's behavior issue, then extra paraprofessionals in the classroom sounds like the way to go. So that's my 2 cents. At this time, my vote would be not to change the teacher numbers based on what we voted for in the budget.
Thank you, Lori. Don, I want to go back to you to see if you wanted to just wrap up do you have an additional question for Michelle, or do you want to share your final thoughts on what you want to do? Because you started there, but I don't know where we end.
I would like to have an explanation as to why there are all these vacancies. And I'm talking about the teachers. I know there's paraprofessionals and the rest of that. But I'm just really upset about all of that because when I was teaching, it was in April. If you were taking maternity leave or for whatever reason, it's usually in April that you found out about those things. And I just want to know simply, have we been, and I know Michelle would know this, have we been furiously interviewing and we're just not getting the right people? That's all I really want to know. And as I say, someone approached me, 2 people approached me.
Yes, we are interviewing constantly. The long-term sub positions, as Michelle said, some are for 6 weeks, some for 3 months.
Okay.
Several of them are maternity leaves, some of them because of illnesses. Obviously, we can't share information about that.
I understand that.
These things just seem to happen at different times at different buildings. It is what it is, but we're going to be fully staffed on opening day. That's our goal. The problem, too, at this time of year in August, a lot of folks who want a teaching job want a permanent job, not necessarily a long-term sub position. So they're kind of down to last-minute interviews with those positions, and then I'm pretty confident we will fill them. This isn't the first time this has happened in my career, but they're doing everything they can, the team at WIS, to get folks on board as soon as possible.
Michael, long-term subs, do they have to have a 4-year bachelor's degree?
Typically, yes, they do.
Okay.
So they're in a teaching program or coming out of a teaching program.
Okay.
So it just depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. So then I think I've got the answer
Okay.
to that. And it's upsetting, and you can imagine for the parents who are finding out, it's upsetting to them as well. And I couldn't answer any of this to the people who were asking me. However, I appreciate knowing that now. Okay. I want to add just one thing, and I don't know if Lori saw this or if everyone has seen this because
Can I just ask you, what is upsetting? The number of long-term subs?
the number of long-term
I just want to clarify.
subs.
Okay.
That their children won't be going on the first day. Well, on the first day, will there be teachers? I said, of course there will be people to take those classes. But the second thing is, those teachers that their children loved are not going to be there. That's what I think, that's what I think that they're concerned about. And every parent is.
But I'm going to let Michelle answer that, but then I want to just get back to
And then I just
the
wanna
budget
make-
discussion.
And then I have something I want to say about the budget. One more thing about the budget
Okay.
that I want to tell Lori about.
Can you hear me? All right. So I think I want to be careful about how I address this, because I think we have to understand that it's everyone's right, to take out federal FMLA.
Right.
So they do have the right to do it for medical, for maternity. So I'm all about advocating for employees. And so I think we have to be careful. Like, it's a funny road, right? So they do have the right, whether it's a medical condition, whether it's having a baby, to take that leave of absence.
Yeah.
And per the collective bargaining agreements, they do have the right to extend that leave, whether it's a half year or full year. And so their contract, there is a duration period that they have to tell us. And so we start to move quickly. And like Michael Lucas stated, this time of year is very difficult to find and hold a permanent teacher in those positions, because they want to contract a permanent position. And you can't blame them, right?
No.
So, we're not the only district going through this in the state of Connecticut. Teaching is a shortage area. So we know that, right? So we're doing the best that we can to find long-term subs. And usually when we're looking for a long-term sub, we want to bring someone in who's certified. So you're looking for someone that has a bachelor's degree and that has that teaching certification in the correct area for compliance reasons. So though it might be upsetting, it is a beautiful reason for why these people are not present. So I just kind of want to be careful when we talk about that.
And I remember the days when we didn't have that.
Yeah.
So this is wonderful. My question is, since there has been a lot of interviewing and so forth going on, is this the fact that you're asking for a long-term sub rather than an actual teacher means that in all those positions, those teachers who were in those positions are coming back, or they're expected that
I'm
one
so
would
sorry,
expect.
Donna. I'm going to pull us
I
back
can't
because
ask that.
it's off topic for the special
Okay.
meeting, so
All right.
we're kind of creeping outside of what we're allowed to talk about tonight.
Okay.
But this is a valid discussion, and I'm sure that Michelle would be happy to talk through with you the long-term sub and the complexities of family medical
Yeah,
leave, which
okay.
have been expanded recently. So
Okay.
is that okay? Okay.
So I'll go on. Let me
You have
just-
one other point?
Yeah, that
Okay.
I wanted Lori to be aware of, because Catherine didn't chasten me today that I was the one who responded again to Lisa, to all of you, which I wasn't supposed to do. Thank you, Catherine. I know. I think she's giving up. Anyway, what I would say to Lori is there were 3 more things when people left my house. I said, oh my goodness, I just looked at all this yesterday. What I found most interesting about this this discussion we're having is, and I don't know Ray Engel, is he a new person? I'm just curious. Can I ask?
He's
that
our
question?
interim business manager.
He's your interim.
Yep.
Well, he looked like he was pretty much on top of things, but he then put me in another little bit of a fit, because now he's explaining all the reasons why a person who is extremely organized with my finances doesn't want to do this, because it looks as if we would have to get, because it wasn't done during what I called in the last week the timely way it should have been done, and I wish it had been done. He's now saying that we would have to have this accepted by Board of Finance. Is that true? The council?
So I can speak to that.
Okay.
To get
Because it's out of,
Ray was here yesterday. He could not be in work today, so he's doing a nice job prioritizing our books. This was another additional assignment because of this decision tonight that the board's going to make. However, in checking with our attorney, Jess Ritter, the board does have the ability to re-add a position, and basically you can use surplus funds or direct me to find it in the general budget. But in a nutshell, that's her answer. So, however, again, doing this after the budget process is really not considered a good practice. And that's in his letter as well as memo.
that's right. So I would ask everyone to look at that. And he does say, regardless of how or if we move the funds, we should contact our audit firm for guidance. Note, these funds are from fiscal year ending 25-26, as opposed to our budget, which is, of course, 26-27. And let's see. He said the budget has been approved by referendum in the town, but we are asking to increase the budget without referendum. Based upon my knowledge of referendums, it may cost now this is his, I'm reading it his way. It may cost
Oh, sorry.
another.
Just to clarify, so we had
5,000.
clarification after that memo was sent out from our attorney. You would not have to do a referendum.
Oh, okay.
So again, we don't need to really discuss this unless you guys decide to add the position back.
Well,
This
then
is just, I was
already
just trying to
old news.
supply the board as much information as I possibly could with the team that we had available, so.
So, sorry, Donna, part of the confusion is that we have an interim
I
business
understand.
manager
I understand.
who's only here part-time. So we asked a lot of financial questions of him and gave him a week to turn it around. So he did his best. So we wouldn't have to go back to referendum, but we would have to figure out where the money comes from someplace else. Mr. Schuman and then Mr. Heisman.
Okay. Back in May, I know we spent an awful lot of time discussing, and Chris Butwell put a good sheet together about if you subtract this person, add this person, and all these positions, and we came to an agreement, you know, what we were going to eliminate that position, not renew it. I share Laurie's recollection that it was, we'd consider it down the road if the population numbers, you know, change, and I don't think they have significantly. I do back Kelly's idea that we should, and Mike's from last meeting, that we should have a population study or whatever. If we do, and I hope they do, hope people move to town, I hope they come to our schools. If it goes up, yes, then we can, you know, then we're going to need more teachers and, you know, more support staff. But the other thing was, you know, we're talking about a budget. You were taking money from a surplus, and they come and go. But okay, we've been lucky the last couple of years we had a surplus, but we're using last year's money to fund an ongoing position, or possibly an ongoing position, which I have some issues with that. And you know, I guess there's all kinds of different numbers. I had a little different numbers than Kelly did, because I know a lot of people have put out numbers. But I mean, from 2019 to 2000, you know, the number of students going down about 96 fewer students, you know, 22%. Teachers are going from 22 to 20, which is 9%. You got the Connecticut State teachers recommending no more than 20 at a cap, and I think we're significantly below that.
But that's-
And Kelly, you know, we did all the superintendents we issued and all the people we talked to, they were impressed by the student-teacher ratios that we did have here. And one of my things, like, you know, I'm not a teacher, and I know we have a higher level of students with special need designations, but poor student behavior, that really bothers me. As I see it, teachers should be able to teach without spending an inordinate amount of time on disciplinary issues. I believe it, you know, student behaviors, that's a parental responsibility. And maybe we should require their involvement where appropriate. So, that's my.
Thanks, Alan. Mr. Heisman.
So, excuse me. First, I just want to really start by saying I fully support Mike. I appreciate his approach on this. I fully trust him, like more than anybody probably knows here. I am concerned, right? I like that he's talking about bringing in more special ed supports, and I know he'll follow through with it. I'm concerned about the timing and how quickly things can be implemented. I know that's going to put a major burden on everyone in the district. My concern is that I had sent out some information this morning to both Mike and Alicia about our current budget situation. And my opinion, and that's what I have here, and I'm going to run through it with you, is that we are not following what we voted for on March 23rd. So in front of you, this packet that I gave you is the first 5 pages contains the 25-20-26 budget, which if you flip to page 3 and 4 of 10, that'll show you that in 25-26 we had 22 kindergarten through grade 2 teachers at ECS. And I counted them there line by line, right? So, and I know there was some discussion about WIS, and the following page on page 5, for grades 3 through 5, we had 19 teachers. Pages, if you guys want a minute to see those numbers.
Steve, can you summarize for us? Because I don't think we're going to be able to go through this entire packet in detail, just seeing
Well,
it now. I
So
got it this morning. in
Flip
the
through
middle.
page 4. That's the numbers from 25, 26. There's 22 teachers in our budget from 25 and 26. Mike, there should be one there for you as well. Page 4 of 10, which counts over from page 3. So I lined out, every grade by color code to a total of 22 teachers. Now, everyone follow that?
I'm having a hard time with this because I feel like we need to make a decision tonight.
Well, I'm saying we're not following our vote, so I'll simplify this. 25 and 26, we had 22 teachers in the budget. 26 and 27, we have 21 teachers in the budget after our cut. On page 10, we're proposing 20 teachers. So we're actually cutting one more than we agreed to in our budget. So if you want to run through this, I'd be happy to do it.
No, I don't think I need you to because this is Michelle's expertise. Michelle, do you mind? We cut one teacher position because we have to act
Correct.
on all the contracts. So
Correct.
we had a subsequent
so
meeting.
25 to 20, I'm just going to say 26 to 27. We went from 22 to 21. That's the one cut, right? If you look at these numbers here in the budget. Now, our proposal for class sizes is based on 20 teachers, which is one less teacher than we approved in the 26-27 budget. So we're actually cutting another position.
I hear what you're saying, but Michelle would know if we cut a teacher, and if she's saying we did not cut another teaching position. So I want to trust this is Michelle's job day to day, and I really feel like we're creeping way into management right now. So I want to get Michelle to tell us it was in what was it, April 7th? We looked at the contracts for non-renewal. Actually, I think you made the motion that we were.
Alan made the
Oh.
motion, and
Hold on,
Steve
use
seconded.
your mic. We had one position that we voted to not move forward. Michelle would know if we have one less teacher in our system than what you're saying we should have. And so that, I want to let Michelle speak to that because this is her job day to day.
So basically, when we do the budget, we don't know of attrition. So attrition basically is when a teacher resigns. So we had a teacher resign in January, and the teacher who resigned in January was from Woodside. Okay? I can't tell you the name, but I'm just going to tell you it's from Woodside. So from there, basically, we're proceeding with the budget, and we're closely looking at classroom sizes in 3 grades. After that occurred, we did afterwards proceed with some of these cuts, which Chris presented to you guys at several different meetings. I think there was 2 meetings in March. Is that correct, Lisa?
Agreed. So
Okay.
the 23rd, we cut one position,
And then
first grade.
Right. Then we cut one position. We didn't say where we're cutting it, but we said we're cutting a position. So in the cuts, it just said a teacher's position. And I have that paperwork here, which I think spells out one teacher position. Then in April, we received another resignation from a teacher that was out on leave at ECS. So that was the second resignation. We ended up hiring the position at Woodside and recalled the teacher that was in the 1-year position back at Woodside and never filled the ECS position. So there was only one position that was not filled, and it was due to attrition. So there's only been one cut.
But if you look at the budget numbers, we had 22 and 25 and 26.
So what budget are you looking at? The 26-27 budget? Did you get it off of the website?
Yes.
So
And it's the dollar amount is correct, according to the referendum. So,
Okay.
and it has 21 teachers, so it has that one cut in ECS.
So the budget that's on there, when you click on our webpage and you go to the adopted budget, is that what you clicked on?
Yes.
And you open, the first page says proposed budget, doesn't say adopted. But you have to go to the executive summary. So nowhere in that budget was there any edits made throughout the budget. The only thing that was changed was the executive summary. And that executive summary shows an increase of 4.64%. So basically, and this is, if you look in the prior years, this is how it was done. They only took that sheet with all the cuts, and they never presented an adopted budget.
So how do we get from 22 and 25 and 26 to 21 and 26, 27?
Well, I can't talk.
Exactly. So how are we filling 20?
I'm not following you, Steve. I'm not following. I think Michelle's saying the document that you looked at on the website was not the adopted budget that passed, and that the executive summary was the updated document. So you
so-
might be looking at outdated information. Is that what you're saying, Michelle?
Yes.
So we're saying we cut 2 positions?
We cut one position.
One position. She's saying there is one position that was cut this past year. We all voted on that.
Yeah.
Well, not we all, but the majority of the board passed a budget that cut that one position. We had lots of discussion. Dr. Macri proposed it. If you recall, she had proposed that we would be okay with removing 2 positions, and we decided not to do that.
Correct. So we
There was
lost a first grade teacher and a kindergarten teacher.
We do not decide where the cuts are,
Understood.
though. That's
I'm
the-
not saying that we should, but I'm saying that
No,
we
no,
should
we
have 21
don't.
teachers in our budget, and that's what we have currently. And
I
we're-
don't know what the numbers are, because I think there's some and it's okay. Michelle is saying we lost one position. I think we have to trust the experts in their jobs, and I fully trust you, Michelle, if you're saying this is what happened.
And I would have to trust the principal that.
She knows if she's lost an additional position.
So let me call Lucille up too. So I have to trust the
Yeah.
principal. Like if you don't, like, so I'm going to trust the principal too. So I'm going to call her up, and I'm going to have Lucille ask, Lucille, how many positions did you lose this year?
So Rafon's position was filled not by a secondary
We
teacher.
we can't say names. I'm sorry.
They're on the minutes. They're in the board packets who left. So we can say names.
For next year, I'm cut 1 position.
Cut
For
one.
last year, I was cut a position in kindergarten.
The budget does not reflect. The budget still reflects 21 staff members at ECS.
That's what Michelle's saying, that the budget document was not updated on the website, but the executive summary only was adopted on the website.
So
Was
that-
updated on the website.
So that information was never made clear that we lost 1 position last year as well.
I'm not sure what year you're talking about.
So are you, so possibly the year before. So
Lu-
you're talking about maybe the budget season the year
Well,
before?
25, 26, you're saying last
Did you
school year
lose-
we lost a teacher. And
23, 24, we had 22 teachers. 24.
Seal, can you just walk a little closer to the mic so we can hear you?
All right, so 23, 24, 22 teachers. 24, 25, 22 teachers. 25, 26, 21 teachers. 26, 27, 20 teachers. I can't hear her.
22 for 24, 25 is 22 teachers.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
yeah,
I'm gonna
there
pass
was-
to
there
Miss-
was-
are-
There was
are
one
you done?
that there was one that we lost that we obviously never knew about, right? Like that, I didn't know that position was not being filled. And how we budget year to year is we look at proposed budget to proposed budget, and that's how we've done it in the past. So looking at those things, we've lost 2 teachers, not 1. That's my opinion. And I personally, I would also like to hear more from Mrs. DeTuno on how she feels about this matter. I think that's very important. And I think also just to reiterate on the transparency of this process, I think everything was not that transparent. Like I said in a previous meeting, the proposed cuts were never put into an actual agenda. Yes, they were attached to meeting minutes, but for example, on the March 10th meeting minutes, the name of the proposed cuts was Proposed Education Budget Presentation. That was the attachment name. And the minutes never mentioned the cuts by name. They only provided like, I'm going to cut line 22 and 27, line 26 and 29. Hold on, I got one more point. And then also on March 23rd, again, there was no file of cuts shared in an agenda, and that was also shared in the minutes. And in the minutes, that file was named Proposed Board of Ed Budget 26-27. And the minutes mentioned cuts of math interventionists, RBTs, and other non-staff positions, and did not mention specific ECS cuts. It wasn't until May 29th till we requested the special meeting that there was public comment at that meeting where teachers could share their concerns. So, and parents. So the process, one, was not transparent, never gave the stakeholders the opportunity to provide their input. And I also asked for this meeting to have public comment using the proposed bylaws, or our current bylaws of the process. And public comment was not added to this meeting, and I had several parents wishing to come speak tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to respond to a couple of things you said. One is, per our attorney, we don't typically do public comment at special meetings. That is her recommendation. So I did check that with council after the question was
the May 19th was a special meeting with public comment.
And there are certain topics, but we had public comment on this topic last meeting, which was just a week ago. So I did forward your question to council to just make sure that we were following proper procedure. Our budget discussions are always open to public comment. We ask people. We had actually representatives from the Paraprofessional Association that came to our public hearing and that did speak specifically about behavioral needs, requested 2 RBT positions, actually requested, I think, just more support on the behavioral side. That led to a change in our budget and led to the addition of 2 positions. So I will disagree that there wasn't transparency. We had more budget meetings than I can count. They were always open to the public to come and listen, and most of the time to share their thoughts and opinions. We also have correspondence, which we share at board meetings regularly. Now I lost my last point that you made. I'm going to reserve it. I'm going to come back to it because I lost my thought on your, minutes. Meeting minutes. I feel like we all have a responsibility. If we don't feel that the meeting minutes are clear, transparent, detailed enough, which, Lisa, I'm not saying anything disparaging about your minutes. You do a great job and we love them. But we all approve the minutes. So if we want to see more detail, then we have to say, we would like to see more detail. We would like to see a link added to this particular document. We tend to approve them pro forma, and I think we need to be more thoughtful. I think it's a good point if you don't feel that they were detailed enough. But we all vote and approve the minutes. So I think we all have to take that on as a responsibility to look at them and make sure that they provide enough information to be thorough and valuable. That was my third point. But I apologize, Catherine, because I just stepped in. Mrs. DeTuno, do you just want to comment on your staff? If you feel that I'll summarize because I don't want you to have this broad. Do you feel that you're adequately staffed to support the needs of your students?
I'd like to refer to the pink and blue sheet, the chart that I was asked to prepare. There has been an increase in kindergarten from 2025 to 2026, as noted, went from 96 to 123 this year. And what we did is we looked at the class sizes also across the board in grade 1 and in grade 2. And in grade 2, the class sizes are 112. So one of our solutions, as discussed at our last board meeting, was to take a second grade teacher, move the second grade teacher to kindergarten. That would bring the class sizes in kindergarten down to 15.3, as the superintendent discussed before. And in grade 2, it would be 18.6. Okay. We also discussed possible ways to support our students throughout the year. Siri O'Leary and I and Karen Weiskell talked at length on different ways that we could support and plan for next year. Siri, do you want to come up and talk with me, or I can talk to them?
Do you just want to summarize?
I'll summarize for you, sure.
Thank you, Ms.
We talked about the ESS program that will be coming to ECS, and they will take 10 to 12 students And like they discussed with us in the past, they will not only support us in school, but at home too. And that's really the most important thing, is that parenting piece, that home component is where we need to strengthen. We also have the Root Center, which is another therapeutic counseling on-site program that we have. We met as a team this summer several times, and with Carrie McLean, to talk about some PD for our staff, teachers, and paraprofessionals that will be on site, not on videos, and will be specific to the needs of the students. So it's de-escalation, it's trauma-based, and we have our BCBAs and our RBTs there to help support and recommend what we need. In addition to that, we also have a social worker and a psychologist on staff, full-time BCBA, and an RBT. I feel confident that with a number of 15.3, if we do move a second grade teacher to kindergarten, that will be sufficient. I'm not saying that next year those numbers can go up. It looks like there's a trend there in kindergarten, and they're rising.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tuno.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. All right. Do you want Carrie in, or are you good? I don't think it matters. Go ahead, Catherine. No, Catherine's been waiting patiently.
So, I've watched all the meetings again. I read through all the meeting minutes, all of my personal notes. I heard everything that all the teachers said. I've listened to all the experts. I've talked to different people. I've poured through all of the numbers and where we stand in our budget and what's happening with not just the enrollment, but what's happening with the students in the classrooms. And I don't have kids in ECS or Woodside. They're far removed from that. I would have given anything to have the class sizes and supports that's being provided right now for my kids when they were in the ECS. They did not have it. So it was a lot harder for teachers in certain areas. And I even had one of my kids had violence in the classroom. And it was a very, very difficult thing to go through. Once they started providing more supports, it took a while to get that because we didn't have the budget to put more people in, and we didn't have the resources. And now I've talked to Mike about this. I listened to what Dr. Macri said. I've listened to Mrs. DeTuno speak now. I feel that where we stand, and I'm listening to everyone who's an expert on this, and I'm looking at all our financials and our numbers, and I remember correctly what we said in our budgets meetings, and I feel confident with where we stand right now. And I think that we need to continue to get updates throughout the school year on what's happening in the classrooms to see if there's other supports that we need to provide for the teachers. Behavior issues aren't necessarily solved by sticking another teacher in there. If they're behavior issues, then we need to come up with better solutions and better support systems in the classroom, because you can still break out and make a smaller class size, but you're still going to have the behavior issues. They're not going to change until we start to make changes. And I'd like to figure out ways to work before the kids get into ECS to what's causing these. Work more with families, work with preschools. We used to do a lot of work with the preschools in towns and where different kids were coming from. We'd ask where they were coming from preschool to support them and say, here's what we're looking for when that student comes to ECS. Here are some resources that you can use to get these students ready so that when they come to our Cromwell school system, they're ready and they're prepared. And I know you'd go to Berlin, I know you'd go to Cromwell schools, I know you go to Rocky Hill preschools. And I think we need to continue that, whether they're in a full-time kinder care type situation or they're in just a few hours a day like a Bethany Lutheran. I'd like to get back to focus more in on that and maybe have a liaison person that can work with them that would help parents understand where we're coming from. So I feel strongly that, and I support what Mrs. DeTuno's saying and what Mike is saying. I hear you, teachers, and I want to support you in the classrooms, and I think that the resources that we're providing, it's not going to be a quick fix. Even if we had another teacher, I don't think it's going to be a quick fix. The behaviors are still going to be there until we learn to work as a team and work with families and work with everybody that needs their supports. I hope you feel open enough. I know a lot of you have talked to Mike about what's happening, and I hope you continue to feel open enough to express your opinions. I hope you come to board meetings and say, we're not being supported enough. We need more help. Can you provide help? I hope that you come during the budget process and voice your opinions during that process. I want to hear them while we're going through it. I like that you came. The timing of it is very, very difficult. I want you to come during the process. Watch it, listen, read our meeting minutes, reach out if you have questions. We're here to help and support you. However, in the best ways that we know how, with the resources that we have. So that's how I feel about all of this, and I am ready to vote if we need to put this to a vote or not.
I don't know that we have anything to vote on at this point, given the discussion, unless anyone feels differently, but we've just heard how everybody feels about this issue. I'll also just add, and I'm not gonna, that was very thoughtfully, I appreciate everybody's thoughtful and passionate perspectives on this issue. I wanna just add support for Superintendent Lucas and for his team and for their expertise. I really appreciate hearing from Ms. Tatuno. I appreciate so much Mr. Morrow's efforts to try to fill all those positions that need to be filled, whether it's short-term or long-term. I know you all work tirelessly in support of our students, and our teachers work tirelessly in support of our students. Most of us have had kids that have gone through the elementary schools as well and are so grateful for the tremendous educators that we have in our system. I'll just add, because Matt asked me to, Matt did share, he sent me the CEA numbers. So this is the Teachers Association, Connecticut Teachers Association, that referenced 20 students preschool to grade 2 is a target cap. So I think just hearing the numbers, we are well within the 20 students. I think we should look in the future at doing a study on census and on population. I thought that was a great recommendation, Kelly and Alan, that we do that evaluation so that we can do some long-term planning. We absolutely need to do that. Yep, Catherine.
When we did the census study back in 21, we were one of the very few districts that we actually had to, I think we redid it because we were looking at different schools, which school we were going to redo, whether it was ECS or the middle school. We were one of very few districts that were holding steady in our numbers where many were declining. We weren't increasing despite the fact that we had multiple new developments coming. We were not increasing, which was shocking to a lot of us. We thought for sure we'd go up because of the families that were moving in. And when they give you a 5-year, they looked at longer than 5 years because you were putting a school in. And so they require to look at a longer period. And we thought for sure the numbers would be skyrocketing, and they were not. So it was definitely a shocker. So I'd like to see what would happen if we do it again. But these numbers are significantly lower than what we would have expected with all those new developments and what my kids went through school with, and yours and Jessica's. So
I'm going to make a motion that we take, Donna, can I just make my motion real quick and then we can open up for discussion? Go ahead, Donna. I want to make a motion that we put this discussion that we table this discussion and revisit it as part of our budget process for next year. Second from Mrs. Lamb. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries.
yeah.
You can make your comment, and then I'm going to make a motion so that we can
I
go
know,
home.
to shut up, I know.
No, I didn't say that. I would never say that.
You know, I was a former English teacher, so I'm not a numbers person. I taught kids 30 in a class 7 in my Shakespeare class. But the truth is, it's not so much the numbers to me as what goes in that classroom. You can have 7 kids in a class, and let me tell you, have 3 nudges that just destroy your class, who don't read Othello, and it really doesn't matter. And we've been talking about numbers, and we've been talking about this and that. It does have to do with classroom management. It does have to do with the kinds of behavioral problems that teachers are having to deal with, and every time they do, and every time there's that interruption, the whole class suffers. However, I'm just going to make one other comment, hard to believe, that in a town like Cromwell, where I'm too old to know whether or not it has a good reputation with its school system. I'm assuming from everything that I've heard since I've been here since November that it does. But I have to tell you something. Your houses, the value of your houses would not be what they are if people did not come to Cromwell thinking that they were going to get a good education. Because most of the people who are buying those houses are not my age. They are your ages, the younger people here. And they want to know that they're not putting out money for a private school. They're sending their kids to a public school that is respected, respectable, and I think that that's something we never think about, that this is part of the entire community. I do appreciate all, especially our chairman saying, and the superintendent and the secretary saying, as well as others, that I don't want, no matter what happens here, I don't want teachers to feel that they're not being listened to. Because as long as I'm on this board, and I think all of us, we want to listen to the teachers. And I'm so happy when I hear people say, you know, I'm not an educator, but let me tell you, every parent in the community who has gone through school thinks she knows as well as I do what should be done in the classroom. And let me tell you, that's not the way it goes. I've been to doctors, but I couldn't do what they do. So I want the community to know, the teachers to know that I want to support them as much as possible. I'm very concerned about the money as well, and I hope that, you know, we have made the right decision. I'm assuming we're not going to have a motion to actually vote on this tonight.
That was my motion, that we do
That
not
we do
take
not-
action.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Okay. Thank you, Donna.
I just have one more
Oh,
comment.
Steve.
I agree with what Catherine said about teachers coming out to speak up. I definitely appreciate you all coming out. The concern I do have is that our public comment is written that it's for town residents only. So that's something we need to look at as a board to allow them to have a voice here in our meetings.
So we do typically allow representatives from the unions to speak on behalf of the teachers, whether they live in town or not. They usually just ask permission, but they're representing the teachers. So that has been allowed historically.
Understood.
Just to clarify.
Thank you.
Yeah, and at prior board meetings, we have allowed teachers who weren't residents to speak, so yeah.
Yeah,
But it's usually a request in advance so that we know, because it is reserved for town residents.
But it should just be known that if a teacher makes a request to speak, that we are likely not going to deny that request.
But it's usually easier if it's funneled through the union. Historically, we've funneled it through the union representation.
Thank you.
Okay. So with that, I'm going to ask for adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Alan. Second. Thank you, Jessica. All in favor? Okay. Thanks, everybody.